Ankylosaurus. Welcome guys back to my channel, Ranking with Dinosaurs, where we rank, you guessed it. Yeah, exactly that. So today we're going to be talking about a certain group that I've neglected this far, but you know, we're still just a few videos in. So Ankylosaurs are not, actually I don't know anyone who their favorite dinosaur is an Ankylosaur, but you know, I think they're underrated a little bit. And I thought I didn't like them at first until, you know, I just acquired a bunch of Ankylosaur figures and I realized that, yes, I like Ankylosauruses as much as all the other groups. So today we're going to rank, I believe, 8 Ankylosaurs. Again, these rankings, I want to keep it, you know, concise, you know, like 20 minutes, something like that. And I can go through every single Ankylosaur. So we can do a part 2 again. It's the same thing with the other videos. I can do part 2, but we're going to go with this 8 today. So we're going to start with Tarchia. So we're going to start with Tarchia right now. Tarchia, I believe that's how you say it. It's a correct way to pronounce it, but yeah. So Ankylosaurs are most prominent in North America and Asia. Now, there are Ankylosaurs worldwide, yes. There are in other places, but this is where there's the most concentration of Ankylosaurs. And we're going to start with Tarchia, which is from Mongolia. And it is one of the youngest members of the Ankylosaurs in Mongolia specifically, since there's a large concentration of Ankylosaurs. We're going to see a couple more from there. But yeah, Tarchia is one of the most well-known too as well. We know that it's medium-sized Ankylosaur, you know, like 20 feet, I believe, 18, 20 feet, something like that. And we have some skull, some pelvis, and some tailbones as well. From speaking of tails, and one thing about Ankylosaurs is we think they're like bendy tails, but actually, no. So tails, I'm going to show you here with the help. You can see the tail is supposed to be from this little portion right here. It's supposed to be really, really stiff. So it's not like a flail. It's not like flailing around. It's more like a hammer type of weapon, because these tendons right here, tendons are ossified, so they're like really rigid and tough. So that helps for the animal not to be dragging its tail as well. So Tarchia, actually from the skull fossils, we know that it suffered from a bite from a Tarbosaurus, probably Tarbosaurus. So that's also pretty rad. So Tarchia, I'm sorry, I forgot I didn't have it here, but Tarchia is gonna be, I'm gonna put a bit here. ZUUL curvistator. So ZUUL, yes, the name comes from the Ghostbusters movies. Yeah, I know. Dinosaur names today are a little bit, you know, weird. I don't know why they take a lot from pop culture, which I guess just shows that, you know, paleontology is a product of its time as well. So ZUUL, the destroyer of shins, as its species name would say, it's an Ankylosaur from North America, more specifically the Judith Formation. Now I want to say Judith Formation is such an underrated formation. It has so many different types of Ankylosaurs, ceratopsians, tyrannosaurs. It's crazy. So that gives me an idea for a video. Probably you're gonna do a formations tier list. We're all fried here. But yeah, ZUUL is one of those most recent Ankylosaurs, and one from which we have a pretty complete skull, and it has one of the biggest skulls for Ankylosaurs in general. Like, Ankylosaurs usually have small skulls, as you can see right here. Very small skulls compared to the body. However, the head for ZUUL is actually pretty big for an Ankylosaur. It's like relatively big towards compared to his body. So ZUUL, really cool little Ankylosaur. I don't know if I want it to be so high, but I do want it. Also, I just show you a figure, but usually ZUUL is very constructed as a green dinosaur. I kind of like the short name ZUUL, so I'm gonna put it in A tier. SAICHANIA or SAICHANIA. I don't know where did you first learn about SAICHANIA if you heard of it before? Because SAICHANIA, I heard it from the first time I saw it was in the hit show Dinosaur King, and I don't know if you follow that show, but SAICHANIA in that show, Tank, he's a real one. So SAICHANIA, also known as the beautiful one, since that's what the name means. It's from Mongolia as well. Now you can see already that we're gonna see a bunch of Mongolian Ankylosaurs, and that just shows the diversity, insane diversity of Ankylosaurs. I almost compared to the diversity of ceratopsians in North America. Well, Mongolia had like Ankylosaurs, like by tons, like an industrial level numbers of Ankylosaurs. But yeah, so from SAICHANIA we know quite a bit. We have a bunch of bones. We also know that from the fusion of the bones, neck vertebrae, the shoulder girdle, and some of its limbs, his front limbs, that it was very robust. Like, this was a chunky boy. Actually, you have a figure of SAICHANIA right here. Actually, SAICHANIA is not that huge. Like, my figures are relatively on the same scale, but this one is actually really small. But yeah, you can see the club right here. Now the club here is reconstructed fairly small, and when I say small, I mean relative to other Ankylosaurs, because SAICHANIA, we only have the front part of the animal. That's why we know it's robust. However, the club, we found clubs that could be attributed to SAICHANIA, but we can't, since we only know the front part. So all those loose clubs around there, they have no owner. So SAICHANIA, just so you know, those clubs are huge. So we don't know yet. SAICHANIA, I have a special place for SAICHANIA and me, so I kind of want to put it in S tier. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I love SAICHANIA. PINACOSAURUS. So PINACOSAURUS is another Ankylosaur from Mongolia. Yes, again Mongolia, hoarding all the Ankylosaurs. But no, PINACOSAURUS is a very interesting dinosaur. So first of all, we have a ton. We found a ton of PINACOSAURUS fossils, especially juveniles, which were found together, which to me says that while they were young, they were more likely to form groups of young, because their clubs are small, their armor is not as developed, so safety in numbers, I guess. And yeah, PINACOSAURUS, we found them because we have a ton of fossil material. One of them has preserved the hyrodial. I want to see Hyobrancia, which are tongue bones. And with that, so I did a little digging on that, and apparently for a lot of dinosaurs could have this, but the level of fossilization of this particular specimen shows us that they could have these tongue bones, which paired with the fact that they had really small teeth, I'm talking about PINACOSAURUS, because they had really small teeth, that probably aided in a lot of the feeding of these guys. So the fact that they were really like flat and low to the ground, yeah, they could eat in vegetation, but what I can gather from that is, why couldn't they not be like modern day like anteaters or like insectivores? To just a little dinging, or they see a mount of ants or termites, and because yes, in the Cretaceous there were ants and termites. They were already evolved at this time. So PINACOSAURUS also has the famous larynx. Like fossilized larynx. I don't know if this was the actual larynx, something like that. But it's possible that these guys could vocalize like birds, since the larynx was so alike to like actual modern day birds. So just to think these little guys, because these guys were like flat, we could be like singing like birds. I would pay for that, to see that. That's beautiful. So PINACOSAURUS, it's gonna be a strong A tier. I love it. MINMI. So MINMI, you probably haven't heard of it. However, us dinosaur enthusiasts have probably heard of MINMI. So MINMI is an ankylosaur from not Mongolia. No, not the United States of America. It's from Australia. So Australia does have, every time there's a new discovery in Australia, I'm like excited since we don't get that many. Thankfully, lately we've also actually found a lot more dinosaur fossils over there. But yeah, MINMI is an ankylosaur. Very fragmentary. Sadly, very fragmentary. There was another specimen that was found, a lot more complete. However, paleontologists came to the conclusion that no, it wasn't a MINMI. It's another ankylosaur, not an ankylosaurine, but an ankylosaur. Just so you know, we're talking about ankylosaurines here. We're gonna be talking about the other group in another video. But yeah, it was a Kumbarasaurus, if you know which one. So, MINMI, since it's very fragmentary, we don't know its affiliations in the taxonomic tree. There was some debate of whether their osteoderms were like arranged in a horizontal plates instead of the usual you see like this. They were more like horizontal, but you know, MINMI honestly is not doing it for me. When you're very fragmentary and you're not that impressive looking, even from the fragmentary remains, I'm gonna be C tier for you. EUOPLOCEPHALUS or EUOPLOCEPHALUS. How do you say EUOPLOCEPHALUS or EUOPLOCEPHALUS? I'm gonna say EUOPLOCEPHALUS. But yeah, EUOPLOCEPHALUS is one of those very famous ankylosaurs. It's from North America. From the late Cretaceous, and it's actually, we don't know if it's one of the best well-known dinosaurs since some of its most famous remains have been named or decided to be another genus, different genuses. One of them, Scolosaurus. But still, EUOPLOCEPHALUS is one of those very important and very famous ankylosaurs from North America. It had to fight Daspletosaurus, Gorgosaurus, and Albertosaurus, so it was a true fighter from its time. Actually, I've shown you this EUOPLOCEPHALUS before. It has, one of its main features is that droopy snout. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. Like the face kind of droops down. All ankylosaurs had that little beak you see right there. And it had this two bone rings right here around the neck that can protect the neck, so predators can just go, and just take a munch and just kill you instantly. But yeah, funny thing about ankylosaurs, if you see them from the front, you can just see how rotund these guys are. How are these guys able to run or trot? I don't think they're able to run, but definitely trot a little bit. But it's so funny how friggin' wide they are. But yeah, another way of scientists to differentiate ankylosaurs, since they are very similar to each other, is the bone, like on their faces, right here, like all this part of the here between the eyes and all the way to the nose and to the back. Those are bone fragments and bone ornamentations, which vary so much between ankylosaurs. Like that's almost the only way. Not the only one, but one of the main ways that they differentiate ankylosaurs from each other. That and these little horns from the back, those help a lot with differentiating ankylosaurs. So EUOPLOCEPHALUS is one of the OG ones. And do I like it more than these two guys? I don't think so. I'm going to put it in B tier since a lot of its remains have been assigned to other genuses. Anodontosaurus. So Anodontosaurus is one of those ankylosaurs that you probably know from the insane tail club that they have. Like that tail club, I'm waiting for an Anodontosaurus figure to come out. But the fact that they're like pointed osteoderms, yeah, that's the actual tail are two different osteoderms, one on each side and two on top, right here. So those are, if you were wondering what they were made of, it's just osteoderms, just ossified bone, like a really strong bone. And yeah, Anodontosaurus is from the Horseshoe Canyon Formation and Dinosaur Park Formation as well. But yeah, this one is one of those guys that were originally a Euoplocephalus species, but they were changed later since it was different enough from the actual original Euoplocephalus remains. But yeah, Anodontosaurus. I don't know what much to say about it. It did make a brief appearance in Prehistoric Planet, where it was eating chalk, which is something that actual birds, some animals do today. So it's actually like when documentaries show like a more just weird behavior of animals, which are not just like violent, like any other behavior that's not violent. I like that. So Anodontosaurus, the club is doing a lot of heavy lifting, because aside from that, I'm gonna say C tier as well. C tier, no, B tier. I think B tier for Anodontosaurus. Ankylosaurus. So we have reached the climax of this video. Ankylosaurus, the most popular ankylosaur, the one that the name is group named after. Yes, so Ankylosaurus is not only the most popular ankylosaur, it's probably the biggest one that we know of. Lived in the Maastrichtian of North America. So yes, it had to fight for its life against T-Rex, the most deranged animal Mother Nature has ever come up with. So Ankylosaurus is around 26 feet and around 8 tons. So that's insane for an animal. I actually have it right here. If you've seen the other Ankylosaurus figures that I've shown you, this is huge. Like I'm gonna do this. Look at it. Look at the size comparison with SAICHANIA. It's insane. So Ankylosaurus is not only huge, but insanely heavy. 8 tons is crazy for an animal this short, but the length is not the same as how tall it is. But Ankylosaurus is huge. We actually don't have a lot of Ankylosaurus. It's actually pretty. It's actually pretty incomplete. Like we have like some tail fragments, some limb fragments as well, some of the pelvis. And yeah, Ankylosaurus. You can't go wrong with Ankylosaurus. We do have some teeth as well from Ankylosaurus, which means they were leaf shaped as well. So they were like low browsing and eating everything on their path. The placement of the armor is also a huge debate, not only for the subject right here, Ankylosaurus, but most Ankylosaurus in general, unless we have the lovely mummies that they thankfully died in the name of science, so we can discover them and know how their armor was arranged. But yeah, for Ankylosaurus, this is the closest one that we have that can get to it. However, we won't know 100% until we find one articulated. So Ankylosaurus, I'm gonna glaze it and I'm gonna put it in S tier. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm scrub. But yeah, this is gonna be for it, the Ankylosaur tier list. Let me know in the comments, please. What would you change? What would be your ranking? Which Ankylosaurs did I miss? Do you want a part 2 of this? I'm doing the Nodosaurus tier list, not after this video, but in the future I'm gonna do it. But yeah, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. It helps a lot. It helps me make these videos, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Without further ado, thank you much for watching, guys.